Is Crisol Theater of Idols any good? Crisol Theater of Idols is a survival horror game that wears its inspirations on its sleeve. It pulls heavy inspiration from Resident Evil and BioShock. And on the surface this all looks great, solving puzzles, fighting unsettling enemies, hell, you even use your own blood as ammo. This all sounds amazing, right? Well, it falls a little short for me. As I stated before, one of the cooler mechanics in the game is using blood for your ammo. When you run out of ammo, you press your hand onto a spike or spikes, depending on the weapon, to replenish the ammo. The catch is, this also pulls from your health pool. I really thought this mechanic was clever, but with health being plentiful from blood syringes all over the place and dead animals and people that you drain their blood to add to your health pool being plentiful throughout the levels, this never really made me feel like I was in any real danger. It was a neat mechanic, but it could have been used a little better to make it feel a little more threatening. Speaking of threats, let's move on to the enemies in the game. At first, I really enjoyed the design of the enemies. Their statues that come to life and their movements being pretty twitchy will cause you to miss some shots, which adds to some of the tension in the game. But you just fight the same enemies throughout the entire game. The same models, the same movements, the same attacks. They do add a couple of different enemies towards the end of the game that were actually pretty clever in their design. But by and large, you're fighting the same enemies, the same models, with the same movesets. And by the end of the game, it did kind of start to get a little tiresome. I thought the enemies were neat, I just wish there was a little more variety in them. But let's move on to the level design. I think the environments and the mood of the game are spot on. But sadly, I feel like the levels feel a little too big and they have a lot of dead space in them. This would not be so bad if there were more enemies to fight or a couple more puzzles to solve, but there's a lot of dead space, leaving a lot of the areas feeling pretty empty. Exploring the areas and the levels was fun though, looking for hidden areas and items that add to your health and more coins so you can buy better upgrades for your guns. I just wish they did not feel as empty as they did. I also really like the Resident Evil style map, showing blue in the area you're in if you have found everything there is to find in that area, and red if there is still something to be found. But let's move on to the puzzles in the game. None of the puzzles were particularly difficult, so solving puzzles is not really your thing. Do not worry, they're not too bad in this game, and you should be able to figure them out fairly easily. A couple of them though were pretty clever, like there's one where you get clues from a diary you find, and you have to match the room letters to the person that room belongs to based off the clues in the diary to move on to the next area. I thought that was kind of neat. It forced you to explore the area and kind of turn the rooms upside down to be able to decide whose room was whose. The other one I found to be pretty neat was there was one involving dominoes. You do need to know how to play dominoes, but if you pay attention to your environment, you should be able to learn enough to be able to solve it. The rest of them felt pretty lackluster though, but they were not too bad as a whole. There is a leveling up system in the game. Leveling up the weapons is like Resident Evil. You find the vendor, you spend money you find throughout the world to increase weapon damage, magazine size, reload speed, and fire rate. I mainly found myself using the pistol throughout my playthrough, and fully upgrading it did give a very noticeable improvement to the weapon. The other thing you can upgrade are your player's abilities. You get experience points from each enemy you kill, and you use those experience points with crow relics to buy these ability upgrades. A lot of these abilities kind of felt unneeded, at least for me in my playthrough, but I'm not mad that they're there. I could see them being useful and helpful during the playthrough. I just personally did not use them very much. But let's wrap up this review. All in all, I think Crisol Theater of Idols is a solid 6 out of 10 game. It's not a bad game, but it's also not an amazing game. The story was interesting, the graphics were great, the environments were awesome, but it fell short in key areas for me. I never really felt threatened in the game. It felt pretty easy from beginning to end, even boss fights left a lot to be desired. The levels felt a little too big and empty, which made some sections feel pretty boring. But I do think as a whole, the game is fun, and if you are a fan of the survival horror genre, there is fun to be had here. If you have played this game, let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on it. I look forward to reading all of them. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Down in the description will be a link to all my socials, my Discord, and my Twitch channel, where I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you all in the next video.